Ich habe gar keine Ahnung, was ich von dem Fall halten soll. Es ist mir ein Rätsel, weil es könnten Linne und Lynette natürlich gewesen sein. Es ist nicht unmöglich, dass sie es waren. Und alles deutet auf sie hin. Aber es könnte auch ganz einfach gelogen sein. Ui, ach, da hinten hin. Okay. Dann sind wir jetzt in der Verhandlung. In der Verhandlung.
What do we do? The whole situation is so confusing.
Aber gehen wir die Dinge Schritt für Schritt an.
Good plan. Impossible things don't just happen. We'll get to the truth one way or another.
Just relax. Even if everyone else suspects Lenny and Lynette, at least we will be supporting them from the stands. Besides, I doubt Farina understands any more about what happened than we do.
Thanks, Navia. Well, we'll be going then.
Best of luck to you.
Ich freue mich drauf. Ich bin jetzt gespannt, was dabei rauskommt. Ob der Fall geklärt wird. Ob wir jetzt verhaftet werden, weil wir wahrscheinlich Lügner sind. Wir werden sehen.
Finally, you're back. Well, how did your investigation go?
To be honest, you might be disappointed.
No. We're already very grateful that you were willing to help.
Well now, don't you all look disappointed? Don't tell me that your investigation came up empty-handed. That was to be expected, of course. The guilty can never produce proof of their innocence. But don't let that stop you. I shall be terribly disappointed should you, my most anticipated foe, concede so easily.
Warte nur, bald wirst du es verstehen.
Since both parties are present, I declare that the trial regarding the magic show incident is now in session. Firstly, in order for the audience to understand the causes and results of the incident, could we please have Mr. Linney explain the trick?
Yes, of course. I will explain while Lynette demonstrates on stage. All the necessary items have been prepared.
Lynette wird prägnant und in aller Deutlichkeit die Tricks des Zaubers. Alle Anwendungen sind anpassungslos.
In that case, I take your statement to be that you ran to and remained hidden within the magic box in the audience stands once the trick began, and thus could not have committed the crime. Is this correct?
Yes, that's correct, Your Honor.
In that case, I call upon the prosecution. Lady Farina.
Why, of course I do. Allow me to take the first shot and break this case wide open. Mr. Linney is clearly lying. There is no way you could have been in the box the whole time if you were to abduct Halsey and murder Cowell. In fact, I'd say you were hardly in that tunnel at all.
That is simply your hypothesis based on the presumption that I'm guilty.
Oh, is that so? And if I may ask, what did you hear while you were inside your box?
The roaring countdown of the crowd, of course. That's how I kept track of the time and built anticipation for the finale.
And you didn't hear anything else at all? Nothing that might leave an impression of any kind?
No, nothing.
I see. But when the count reached 30 seconds or so, there was a thud. One so loud that I believe practically everyone heard it.
Das ist wahr.
Huh?
Hey, hang on. Something's not right here.
Wie konnte Linne den Knall nicht gehört haben?
Yeah, I'm sure he could have heard a noise that loud from inside the box.
I was right by the box and I definitely heard the thud.
Look at those scales. Could those mean...
Sie repräsentiert vermutlich die Haltung der Oratrice.
Well then, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to use the words of the magician himself. You never know what can happen in the blink of an eye. Indeed, it seems his alibi can also collapse in the blink of an
warum
eye.
hat Linne das nicht gehört?
Of course, I have armed myself to do far more than smash your alibi. Confidence cannot go unfounded, and my foundations are rock solid. Tell me, aren't you and Lynette actually from the House of the Hearth?
The House of the Hearth?
Die beiden sind Fatui.
No wonder they did something like this.
Bitte was?
So the serial disappearances were the Fatui's doing. Now it all makes sense.
I've got a feeling that what happened on stage probably wasn't just an accident.
That's irrelevant. Our identities have nothing to do with what happened.
Die sind von den Fatui? Bitte was?
Indeed.
Hab ich das gerade richtig verstanden?
Perhaps you could tell us everything that happened during that 1 minute. Your first priority is to prove yourself innocent after all. I'm sure there is little that needs to be kept secret now. Unless your script already has holes in it.
Auch wenn sie Fatui sind, heißt es nicht, dass sie
The
böse sind.
Outlander is speechless. My, oh my, don't they look flabbergasted? Now comes the infighting and discord, I suppose. Good thing I made all those preparations. Seems the all-nighter I pulled last night is really paying off.
Hey, Linny, why didn't you tell us this before?
Linnea und Lynette, sie sind Fatui. What the fuck?
Order! Order! Mr. Linney, allow me to re-establish the facts. Lady first, when the thud was heard in the Opera House, you were neither in the box nor the tunnel. Second, you and Ms. Lynette are both members of the House of the Hearth. Are these claims true?
Zauberer ist auf jeden Fall in der Lage, andere hinters Licht zu führen. Angesichts der Art und Weise, wie Linnea seine Identität verborgen hat, könnte dies alles im Voraus arrangiert worden sein. Außerdem ist er Graf zusammen mit anderen Mitarbeitern des Hauses des Kamins hier in Fontaine. Sie müssen irgendetwas geplant haben. Ich wurde schon früher von den Fatui getäuscht und jetzt?
Please answer my question, Mr. Linney.
I'm sorry. Yes, they're true, Your Honor.
Was?
I knew it!
Well, that's it. We might as well move on to the sentencing already.
What should we do now?
Herr Richter, darf ich etwas sagen?
Granted.
Mein Mandant hat einige wichtige Informationen zurückgehalten.
In that case, what is your request?
Ich bitte um eine kurze Vertagung. Es gibt Dinge, die wir besprechen müssen.
Is that really necessary? They're already as good as guilty.
The defendant deceived their own attorneys. What is there left to discuss?
Order! Order, I say! Your request is reasonable, and we shall adjourn. This trial will reconvene in 1 hour.
So you would stick to Mr. Linney's defense even after knowing what you do now? You certainly have more professionalism than I thought.
Ich kann verstehen, dass man nicht zugeben will, dass man von den Fatui ist.
My dear audience, let's allow the joy of victory to steep for a little while longer.
Es nervt mich, dass Furina so ein geiles Design hat, aber so einen dreckigen Charakter. Während die Verhandlung vertagt wird, trefft ihr euch mit Linnea und Lynette hinter der Bühne des Opernhauses. Boah, dieser Blick.
Well, this is awkward. I didn't think the Hydro Archon would dig all that up. I'm sorry, Traveler and Paimon.
Yeah, sorry.
Paimon doesn't know where to start. We trusted you two. We based our entire reasoning on the assumption that you weren't bad guys. Not to set the wrong tone or anything, but Paimon's really mad.
I'm very sorry. I know you're angry, and reasonably so, but please, let me explain.
Ich glaube aber noch immer in ihrer
I know
Schuld.
you've clashed with the Fatui several times before. I wouldn't be surprised if just hearing the word is enough to make you upset. But our organization is very, very large, and the Harbingers have very different personalities and goals.
Ja.
Right now, we want to save people. As many as we can.
That's right. I'm sure we're on the same page when it comes to this nation and the disaster that its people might face. I knew if it weren't for our respective identities, we could become good friends.
Ja.
That's why I didn't wish to flat out lie to you, but chose to hide some details instead. The truth is very important, but being completely transparent about everything would see us spending more effort than we need to.
Was sagt uns, dass dies nicht nur eine weitere Lüge ist?
Right. So, you be the judge. Heck, if I were you, I fear that I'd even struggle to trust me at this point. You met a Fatus who works as a magician, a trickster by trade. All by coincidence, too. But still, I'm asking you to trust me. I am no criminal. At least, not in this case.
Sorry. Please forgive us.
Well, you both say that, but...
Dann erkläre mir zunächst etwas anderes.
Right. Let's hear your answer first, and no lies now.
Of course. I'll answer any question you ask. We've been trying to find out how the Oratrice operates. We want to know why it has a consciousness. Why can it deliver sentences accurately? During our investigations, we learned that the machine's core is beneath it. From that moment on, Lynette and I have been designing this box swap trick with the objective of getting close to the core.
Is that why you needed a whole minute?
That's right. In truth, the audience would take about 75 seconds to count down from 60, while I would only need 15 to get to the opposite box. So, after jumping into the tunnel, I accessed the Opera House basement via the vent, and went to investigate the room in which the core is stored.
That air vent was created during the construction of the tunnel specifically to execute this step.
Und was hast du herausgefunden?
Well, nothing. As soon as I reached that room and was about to investigate, I heard someone's voice. Which should have been impossible, of course. I was quite certain that I was the only one in the room. That voice seemed to recognize me and tried to speak to me. I chose to err on the side of caution and retreated the way I came. On the way back, I saw the broken vase and the clothes on the ground, but the countdown was almost finished, so there wasn't time to give it any thought. After that, the homicide occurred just as you saw.
Well, that explains why you didn't hear the thud.
Warum wolltet ihr herausfinden, wie die Oratrice funktioniert?
Because of that prophecy I told you about, of course. We must know all we can about this nation's secrets in order to deal with that prophesized crisis.
That's the only way we can save everyone.
So, there you have it. The whole truth. I swear, I didn't hide anything from you. It was never my wish to proceed under this cloud of mistrust either. But like I said earlier, you can be the judge. If you want to leave because you don't trust the Fatui, there's nothing I can do to stop you.
Well, Traveler, you decide. Paimon will follow your lead however you choose.
Ich glaube an Fakten. Wenn du nicht der Täter bist, werde ich dich weiterhin verteidigen.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for giving us a chance.
The current problem is that the scales are tipped pretty badly against you two. If we want to refute the Hydro Archon's accusations, we're gonna need a seriously watertight defense.
Tatsächlich haben wir bereits die entscheidenden Beweise in unseren Händen.
Huh?
Die Verteidigung ist fast vorbei, lass uns zurückgehen.
Oh, Paimon thinks she gets what you mean.
Die nächste Aussage. Nachdem Linie den Tunnel betreten hatte, gelangt er durch die Lüftungsöffnung in den Raum, in der die Oratrice aufbewahrt wurde. Daher wurde er auch nicht Zeuge dessen, was in dem Tunnel vorfiel und konnte folglich auch nicht den dumpfen Knall hören. Linie gibt an, er hat eine mysteriöse Stimme in der Oratrice Kernkammer vernommen, die sich unter dem U-Bahnhof befindet. Okay, dann schauen wir mal. Ich glaube noch immer an ihre Unschuld. Tatsächlich. Ich weiß nicht warum. Es kommt mir noch immer suspekt vor, dass sie es sein soll. Die Verteidigung ist vorbei und der spannende Prozess wird wieder aufgenommen.
Both parties have returned to their positions. Let us continue the trial. When last we left off, Mr. Linney acknowledged the new evidence presented by Lady Farina as fact. Therefore, Lady Farina may continue stating her reconstruction of the events.
That took long enough. Now then, if everyone would lend me their attention. At this stage, let's revisit that scene from Linney's perspective.
Mittlerweile anhand der Schilderung der Ereignisse der Gegenseite, welche Aspekte ihrer Aussage nicht stichhaltig sind. Anhand der Beweise und Hinweise, die im Laufe der Untersuchung des Falls gewonnen wurden, können die unhaltbaren Aspekte des Falls widerlegt und durch eine Schlussfolgerung ersetzt werden. Wenn du das Publikum mit deinem Gegenargument überzeugt hast, kann das zu mehr Unterstützung für den eigenen Standpunkt führen. Die Oratrice wird diese Veränderung deutlich machen. Sobald alle unhaltbaren Aspekte identifiziert und widerlegt sind, wird der Widerlegungskreis abgeschlossen und die Wahrheit offenbart. Ah, wie cool.
As the countdown began, he entered the tunnel. When the flatbed trolley passed, he opened the box and got into an altercation with Halsey, which caused the loud thud. He did not realize that the sound could be heard by everyone in the opera house, which is why he claimed earlier that he could not hear the sound.
Okay.
Finally, he used the vase to knock her out, before making her change clothes to prevent others from recognizing her. At this time,
Aber wo ist das Opfer denn noch immer?
arrived in the tunnel, having heard that strange noise, and caught Linny red-handed. So Linny proceeded to knock him out too before stuffing him into that box. Afterward, Linny passed the unconscious Halsey to his accomplice through the magic box in the audience stands, before operating the devices such
Ich hab
that
das Gefühl, dass
Cow's death
Cowell
would be
vielleicht
ruled an accident.
der Täter ist.
And there you have it. That's the truth behind what happened.
Das bezweifle
Does
ich.
the defendant's side have any objections to Lady Farina's description of the events?
The
Klar doch.
key to refuting Lady
Das ist so
Farina is the order of events. What? Seems
Okay. Also, wir haben in Bezug auf Linie der Beweis, der folgende Gesetz widerlegen wird. Okay, wir müssen jetzt schauen, wie wir das... Aber was denn sonst? Ich drücke jetzt einfach alles an, weil mir wirklich nichts einfällt. Ich glaube, wir können das gar nicht widerlegen, ne?
According to Linny, he left via the vent after entering the tunnel. He couldn't have had that altercation with Halsey.
Linny hat Halsey entführt. Linny gibt an, dass das löscht? Ja.
Linny went to the room that contains the Oratrice's core. This is the actual truth.
Nein, okay. Warte mal. Unfall an der Bühne. Der Zauberrequisite wurde aktiviert und der Wassertank stürzt in die Tiefe. Alles sollte wie ein Unfall aussehen. Das können wir nicht damit widerlegen? Okay. Dann versuche ich jetzt einfach mal aus, weil, keine Ahnung. Das geht nicht. Es ist Zeit.
Linny did not take part in the underground altercation. He only witnessed traces of the aftermath.
Attention! Ace Detective Paimon has something to say!
Ja, ich höre.
When the countdown started, Linny did indeed go into the tunnel. But he immediately used a vent to access the Opera House basement, which is where the underground core of the Oratrice is stored. Once he reached that area, he heard a voice in what should have been an empty room. Since he felt something was amiss, he returned immediately. The crime scene had already developed by the time he reached the tunnel again, and in order to complete the magic trick, he did not remain there for any length of time. Finally, he reached the surface, and that was when the accident happened from his point of view. Therefore, he's innocent!
Ding dang dung. Erfolgreich widerlegt. Das finde ich aber ein cooles, eine coole Funktion.
Paimon did it! Paimon actually managed to say all that! Oh, wasn't it awesome?
In other words, you believe that he knew nothing of the incident?
That's right!
Außerdem halte ich die Argumentation der Klägerin für fehlerhaft.
My reasoning?
Die Requisiten auf der Bühne wurden absichtlich von jemandem manipuliert.
If that's the case, then if Cowell hadn't entered the tunnel, who was the entire setup meant to kill? Assuming that what you say is true, Linny only needed to kidnap the young girl to cause a new disappearance case. What would the point of killing someone on stage be?
Oh, they have a point.
Klar doch.
That's right, you tell them! And that's why they're partners of mine. They've managed to turn things around. Oh, well, your denial is very strident, I'll give you that. But what proof do you have to back your claims?
Erinnerst du dich schon daran, wie du Lenes Alibi widerlegt hast?
Of course I do. If he had been in the magic box the whole time, how could he have not heard that sound? What? You're saying that he wasn't?
Diese Aussage ist nun ein entscheidender Hinweis geworden. Okay, wir haben das hier. Okay, das alles sind nur die 3. Welcher Beweis belegt, dass Lene zum Zeitpunkt der Tat nicht im Tunnel war? Während des Hauptschiffs sieht niemand hier das Opernhaus. Wer hat aus der Ich weiß es ehrlich gesagt nicht. Ich würde zwar sagen, das da.
Are you sure we don't need to give this more thought?
Dann das jetzt ein Geräusch.
That's right! Linny wasn't in the box or in the tunnel. That's why he didn't hear anything strange during the performance. This means that when the crime happened, Linny had already entered the basement via the vent. The same clue you used to disprove his alibi has now become the best proof! How do you like that?
Well played. To think you'd use such logic. Well then, if it wasn't Linny who committed the crimes, then who was it?
Ich hab Kaul im Verdacht. Der Täter war. Wähle die Zahnräder auf dem Bildschirm, um die entsprechende Verdachte abzuzeigen. Wähle die jeweiligen Antworten und fülle alle freien Felder aus, um die Richtigkeit deiner Schlussfolgerung zu überprüfen. Im Falle eines Fehlers musst du erneut an den verbleibenden Möglichkeiten wählen. Sobald alle Fragen richtig beantwortet wurden, ist die Beweiskette abgeschlossen. Die Ermittlungen der Gendarmerie zufolge entzündete die von Ende der Zaubershow gezündete Feuerwerkskörper das Seil, an dem der Wassertank befestigt war, wodurch das Herunterfielen Kreuztod verursachte. Nachdem Lene von jeglichem Verdacht freigesprochen wurde, wären dann nur noch die restlichen Mitglieder der Zaubertruppe, die sich an den Zauberrequisiten hätten zu schaffen machen können. Lene erklärte ausführlich, wie der Zaubertrick funktionieren sollte. Mithilfe des doppelt beschichteten Schranks sollte das ausgewählte Mädchen aus dem Publikum, das sich mit dem Schrank befand, dadurch ein Tunnel auf die andere Seite transportiert werden. Linne selbst sollte diesen Tunnel ebenfalls nutzen, um auf die andere Seite zu gelangen. Währenddessen übernahm Lynette nach dem Kostümwechsel und der Assistent gemeinsam die Interaktion auf der Bühne. Das Kleid der vermissten Hälse wurde aus... Alter. Wurde aus einem unbekannten Grund im Tunnel zurückgelassen. Wer ist das?
The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. He would have been able to tamper with the equipment. Halsey is the missing person and an ordinary audience member.
Oh, ich weiß es nicht.
Could there have been a third person involved?
Ich denke eine dritte Person.
Halsey
Sie
is the missing
selbst?
person.
Cowell, sagte ich doch. Warum bin ich nicht sofort auf Cowell
The
gegangen?
deceased's name is Cowell.
Warum bin ich nicht sofort auf Cowell gegangen, wenn ich es schon denke?
Huh? That can't be right. The killer was, in fact, Cowell, the deceased!
Oh, is that so? How interesting! Let's hear your reasoning then.
What I must do next is recreate the truth. What Cowell did, and how he went from would-be perpetrator to victim.
Okay. Wie konnte man vorher wissen, dass Lene keine Möglichkeit hatte, das Verbrechen zu verhindern?
No one entered or left the opera house through its entrances. So... The deceased's name is Cowell, Linny's assistant. Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal.
Das würde ich schon mal
Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment.
Das will ich auch
It
sagen.
would have been tough for both people to fit into that vent.
Das auch.
Halsey's clothing was in the
Das. Scheiße. Wie könnte man wissen, dass Lenny keine Möglichkeit hatte, das Verbrechen zu verhindern?
The deceased's name is Cowell. No one entered or left. The sound we heard may have...
So.
Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment.
So.
It would have been tough for both people to...
Und so. Nein, aber eine Sache ist richtig. Gut. Wunderbar. Das Kleid.
Halsey's clothing was in the tunnel. No one entered or left the...
Das muss doch auch richtig sein.
The deceased's name is...
Alter, was?
It would have been tough for both people to... Halsey's clothing was in the...
Oh mein
No
Gott.
one entered
Okay,
or-
warte. Da stehen andere Fragen oben, deswegen ergibt es keinen Sinn. Der Täter muss die Methoden hinter Lenes Zaubergüte... Abgesehen davon, wie er stark verfügte Cowell über alle Mittel, die er brauchte, um das Verbrechen zu begehen. Der seltsame Kanal könnte wahrscheinlich vom Kampf zwischen Cowell und Halsey herrühren. Lene war nicht einmal eine Minute lang im Tunnel. Über diese eine Minute hätte Cowell gereicht, um Halsey aus dem Zauberschrank zu holen. Doch der Aussage des Gendarms zufolge trat oder verließ inzwischen niemand das Opernhaus. Daher war es unmöglich für ihn, das Gelände zu verlassen. Ganz zu schweigen davon, dass die Zuschauer ihn auf jeden Fall gesehen hätten, wenn er aus dem Zauberschrank gekommen wäre.
What's wrong, Traveler? Are you still having trouble figuring things out?
Wo um Himmels Willen ist denn Halsey hin?
I see how it is. So this was all just a bluff. And here I thought you had something to show for it. But it seems you're still far from the...
Look, since we're at a dead end, why not consider a different track? Just like the trick as it transpired, the end result must have been utterly different from the magician's initial design.
If only we knew how Halsey disappeared. Well, that would be nice, but the tunnel only has 3 exits, and none of them seem very likely. And it's not like this is a magic trick where you can just make a real live person disappear. You know, like you did from that water tank, Lynette.
Aus dem Wassertank verschwinden. Könnte es das Wasser gewesen sein?
Excuse my interruption, dear opponents. But do you not see that the crowd is growing impatient? There is no greater sin in this opera house than an awkward delay in the...
If the defense is unable to make further effective arguments, we will move on to the next stage of the trial.
Wartet.
Lenny was not in the tunnel at that moment, which gave our criminal... The sound we heard may have come from a clash between the missing Halsey and the criminal. The deceased's name is Cowell, Lenny's assistant.
Wohin ist für Mr. Halsey verschwunden?
The vase was not broken by chance. It was used to cover important evidence. The water... It would have been tough for both people.
Ja, das war das und das war das und das war alles.
No one entered or left the...
Ich glaube, es liegt an der Vase dann. Ja. Schlussfolgerung richtig.
Oh, Paimon gets it! It all comes together if Halsey disappeared instead of being kidnapped. Lynette escaped from the water tank, vanishing gradually and leaving only clothes behind. If there's a similar method where a person could be transformed into water...
Just a moment, please. I do hope you know how preposterous you sound at the moment. How could a person ever be transformed into water? This is reality we're talking about here, not some magic trick.
Ich bitte um eine Durchsuchung von Pauls persönlichen Gegenständen.
Must we really? I should think that of anyone. Your friend Linny already knows this truth very well. Magic tricks are ultimately just illusions and misdirection. But Halsey's disappearance is very real. We're talking about two completely different things.
Even so, I trust the traveler's judgment. The truth must be out there somewhere. Perhaps some new line of reasoning may open if we try to gather all the focal points that don't make sense. Since Cal was the deceased, we haven't placed much attention on him. But given that we aren't making much progress with the case, it wouldn't hurt to have a look at his belongings, would it?
People really do come up with all sorts of harebrained schemes when at the end of their rope. The way I see it, your suggestion that we broaden the scope of our investigation is nothing but a tactic for stalling the trial.
Nevertheless, I believe that this is a reasonable request on the part of an attorney. Since the trial does indeed appear to be at an impasse, I believe that additional evidence may help us make more progress. Guards, please step into the lounge and examine the personal effects of the deceased Cowell.
Kurz darauf kehrt ein Gendarm mit Neuigkeiten zurück.
We are still examining the items, but we have already made critical progress that we feel must be shared with everyone post-haste. We discovered several test tubes of fluid within Cowell's baggage, each labeled separately. The notebook in his backpack claims that these fluids are water from the primordial sea.
The primordial sea?
The note's contents also indicate that Cowell belonged to an organization that sells illegal drugs and that he had an accomplice.
What the fuck?
The notebook has many entries concerning safe usage of these fluids, in which the keyword dissolve appears many times. One of these tubes was labeled Opera Epiclese, along with yesterday's date. It is empty. The notes also state that these dissolution properties work exclusively on people from Fontaine. It's likely that Halsey was chosen as some sort of test subject. As such, we believe that the defense's hypothesis is, in fact, supported by sufficient evidence.
Ich hab's vorausgesehen,
You gotta be kidding! People dissolving into water?
Could something so ridiculous actually be true?
Natürlich.
This reminds me of a certain prophecy, but it's just a coincidence, isn't it?
Huh. If people can become water, does that mean that the water tank's real use was as a means to hide water stains? And if Cowell was targeting that girl... Wait just a minute. Could that mean... You two, with me, quick!
Demoiselle, wait! What about your partners?
Let's go. Just trust me.
Order! Order! It is undeniable that further examination of the deceased's personal effects has yielded some surprising results, but we cannot yet verify the veracity of these clues. Still, let us assume that these clues are indeed authentic, albeit with the understanding that Ms. Halsey has yet to be found. Guards, please continue examining the items along these lines. Mr. Linney, it appears your hypothesis is supported by the evidence, so please continue speaking.
Of course. Thank you, Your Honor. If we uphold this hypothesis, I believe that many of this case's seemingly unrelated clues can be connected together.
Right! Like the metal hook! That one didn't make sense at all. Let's think about this. Cowell's methods must have something to do with that water from the primordial sea.
Das ist so, es ist eine Flüssigkeit, die von der Gendarmerie in Cowells Gepäck gefunden wurde. Sie scheint die Fähigkeit zu haben, Menschen aus Fontänen in Wasser aufzulösen. Wer ist der derzeitige Hauptverdächtige?
The deceased's name is
Cowell. Welche Hilfsmittel hatte der Täter zur Verfügung, um den Zeitpunkt des Auflösens zu kontrollieren? Den Countdown.
Lynette was in the magic box on stage the entire...
Das da?
I remember there was something else within the inner... The rope that strung the water tank up was lit by the fireworks and cut. As such, the focus here is on the... Now it seems like the hook rope was not meant for another magic trick, but was instead some form of triggering mechanism.
Eigentlich hätte er den... Dann würde ich sagen, das sei... Mit welchem Hilfsmittel hätte der Täter aufgelöst? Ja, mit dem Wasser. Mit welchem Hilfsmittel hätte der Täter den Mechanismus der Verbrechen versteckt?
was in the magic box on stage the entire... I remember there was...
Das ist falsch. Aber der Rest war richtig. Was ist mit der
Now it seems like the
dann das haken soll. Ja. Ich bin so gespannt, Alter. Ich will es auch nicht mit.
It's Ace Detective Paimon's time to shine again! In the original plan, Cowl would tamper with the water tank rope and the number selector securing his target. When the magic box containing Halsey was lowered, the metal hook would retract gradually and pierce the balloon at the top of the box. When the balloon attached to the box popped, the water from the primordial seed inside it would pour down and dissolve Halsey. Afterward, Cowl would enter the tunnel and break the flower vase to conceal the water inside the tunnel, with the remaining evidence being covered up by the water tank on stage. But he encountered something unexpected in the tunnel, and wound up being fatally hit by the same water tank he meant to use to cover his tracks.
Huh. That does make sense.
Aber warum ist
That
etwas Tank da
actually
runtergefallen?
links together a lot of the more confusing pieces of evidence.
Oh dear, what do I do? Even I think they sound convincing now. Have I falsely accused an innocent person?
Warum ist denn gestorben? Was?
Now,
Das,
it seems like the
da brauche ich
only
nur eine
point of
Erklärung.
contention remaining is the exact circumstances that led to Cal's death.
Ja, genau.
His notes mentioned he had an accomplice who could be related to the situation.
On that note, the guards have just contacted me indicating that they uncovered new evidence. I shall now invite him on stage to share it with us.